4, the 6 to the seniors from Hawaii, number 32, Samuka Avera.
We did it! We did it! We did it! It was the Diamond Head Classic for the University of Hawaii, and they did it, as I said. Hey everybody, how y'all doing? I'm still over the moon after what happened on in the past few days. And University of Hawaii entered the Diamond Head Classic with something to prove, because last year they ended that tournament winless and pulled out of their Christmas Day game against Northern Iowa for 7th place overall. And as a result, we weren't even able to have every single game be played because of COVID concerns. And that's why UH was forced to pull out of their Christmas Day game, COVID concerns. And as a result, UH ended up 8th place out of 8 teams. But what a difference a year makes. You know, year after year, I have been wondering, what was it going to take to win this thing? And we finally pulled it off. I'm so proud of them. And we're going to start out with the first game, and that was against Pepperdine. But I also want to point out that I did get some B-roll on my phone that I took all myself. And if you liked my videos that I'm doing as of late, subscribe. Or if you like my Supercross or motocross uploads from back in the day, much appreciated. Much appreciated. So subscribe as well, even though it's unlikely I'll be posting any more videos, any more Supercross races or motocross races in full. But anyway, let's talk about the first game against Pepperdine, shall we? Okay, Pepperdine from the West Coast Conference. UH won that one in a wire-to-wire win, 76-70. And that actually took me by surprise, because Pepperdine is a really good team from the West Coast Conference. But what really told the story for much of that game is the fact that Pepperdine missed a lot of up-close shots, because that resulted in a lot of lost momentum. And it was just kind of hard for Pepperdine to really recover from all of them, because they had a lot of up-close looks that were not honored. And as a result, UH was able to pull out to a 14-point lead after the break, in which they led the first half 38-24. They never trailed at all. And that made a big statement against a team like Pepperdine, a team that UH has not had a lot of luck against, as far as I'm concerned. That happened on the game happened on December 22nd, by the way. And who led the way for Pepperdine? It was none other than Maxwell Lewis. And that guy's a good player. He had 23 points, including a triple. And he also had a team-high 7 rebounds. He was also a perfect 4 of 4 at the free throw line, and he played nearly all 40 minutes. He played 37 of those 40 minutes. He was also 9 of 21 from the field. But what also told the story, other than the chippy putbacks that were missed by Pepperdine, is the fact that they did not hit a triple until the second half. Whereas, in contrast, University of Hawaii, they hit 7 triples. And overall, 9 for the game, because they were 2 for 8 in the second half. But they were timely triples. And 6 of those triples went to Noel Coleman and Kamaka Hepa at 3 apiece. well. Coleman led the way with 22 points. Kamakahepa had 19. And a shout out to Javon McClanahan because he had 2 triples as well and a team high 17. And Samutsa Avea also had a double-double as well with 11 points and 10 boards. All defensive rebounds, which took me by surprise a little bit because Avea is a good defensive player. And he's a good offensive player too, and he can get offensive rebounds any given game. But this game against Pepperdine wasn't one of them. But the fact that he had a double-double, that's a big statement too. And UH shot 50% in the first half. They were 14 for 28. Kind of stumbled a little bit in the second half at 11 for 27. But, hey, they came through with the win, and that was very good of them. And they definitely had, and this one definitely got pretty close towards the end because Pepperdine, they made a rally. They made a rally in that game and came back with a 20-5 run to cut it to 4 points with just a little over 4.5 minutes to go. And why was that? That was because Avea and Coleman were saddled with foul trouble. And UH almost coughed up what was once a 19-point lead. But they scored 8 of the next 10, including a clutch McClanahan triple, as HawaiiAthletics.com says. And they built the lead back to double digits, and that was all she wrote. So, obviously, I would definitely give them an A for this game. And they definitely have to bring their A game for sure against a team like Washington State. And we'll talk about that right now. Okay, Washington State. That was a seesaw affair and a back and forth battle in itself. Because after the first half, the University of Hawaii took a scant 1-point lead. And I thought that this was going to go down to the wire like Washington State's last game against George Washington because they didn't seal that game until someone made a triple on Wazoo, and that pretty much put the nail in the coffin. But UH won that one. But UH won this one, 62-51. They won both halves, and they won the second half as well, 38-28. And that cemented it, and they were going to the championship game against SMU, an old Western Athletic Conference rival. And that's the first time that they made it to the championship in 13 years, because the best that they'd done prior was 2015, where they finished third. And that was a DHC that I thought was in the bag with a player like Roderick Bobbitt, but they ended up losing to eventual champion Oklahoma. And of course, last year was a mess. UH ended up last place. And Vanderbilt was declared the champion by default after Stanford pulled out due to COVID-19 concerns in their roster. But of course, looking at HawaiiAthletics.com, the University of Hawaii did really well. They held Washington State to season lows in points and field goal percentage to that win. And it was the first time they won against Wazoo. Samutsa Avea led the way with 19 points. And Jovan McClanahan had another career night, or had another solid night for sure. He had 16 and Noel Coleman had 13 points as well. But what kind of came as a surprise to me is the fact that Coleman didn't hit a triple. Now, I'm not going to say that. Now, do I think that Coleman played bad necessarily? Absolutely not, because Coleman is known for hitting triples, and he was 0 for 3 that night. But if you're going to make your points, get it from the field, because that's exactly what he did. He was 5 for 13, and he was also 3 of 5 at the free throw line. But another guy who came through in this game was Morissette. He didn't score, but he got 6 key rebounds to tie both McClanahan and McClanahan and Kamakahepa at 6 boards apiece. And he provided some energy as well. And that was just a sign of things to come for Morissette. And you're going to find out why when I talk about the SMU game in just a little bit. But anyway, both teams had 3 triples. Samutsa Vea had 2 of those for UH, whereas just like against Pepperdine, all 3 of Washington State's triples were from 3 individual players. And, of course, UH still found their shots. They were pretty consistent. 10 field goals in the first half, 13 in the second half. And they were able to come from an 8-point deficit in the first half to ultimately win it. And I did get a triple from Beon Riley that just about cemented that win for the University of Hawaii in that second half. And Beon Riley has certainly been proving time and time again that he's becoming a good player from the 3-point range. He's proven he can shoot the 3. And he was also clutch at the free throw line as well. He was 2 for 2. Just like McClanahan, he was also perfect at 4 for 4. McClanahan, he was 4 for 4. And UH did well in terms of turnovers because they had 10 as opposed to 19 against Pepperdine.
3-point goal by Jake Mullen.
But now we're going to get into the big daddy of the big granddaddy of them all, the championship matchup against SMU. Once again, an A grade goes to them from me for the Washington State game. So let's talk about SMU right now. Okay, SMU, that was a battle for sure. And SMU has some really good players like Zurich Phelps and Zach Nuttall. And both of those guys they played hell of a games for sure. And Zurich Phelps, he was a guy that UH had a hard time trying to stop. And he ended up with 20 points that night. And Zach Nuttall had 15. But the guy who had the most rebounds for SMU was Samuel Williamson. He had 10. But for the University of Hawaii, they really had to scrap and claw and battle their way back into contention. And they had a pretty bad first half because They were held to a Diamond Head Classic low, 22 points after the first half. But I thought we were going to see another replay of what we saw against Yale in the Outrigger Rainbow Classic, where they were held to just 5 field goals in the first half. Because in the first half, UH had a bad first half, had a bad one. They converted only 6, including a triple from Kamaka Hepa. And that turned out to be the only triple that UH made in that first half. But the thing that really kept Hawaii in the hunt is that they were a perfect 9 for 9 from the free throw line. And normally, when you're clutch at the free throw line, you still give yourself a legitimate chance at winning this game.
Lineup that they have in Vermont when you want to start it. If they can hold them down the rest of the
Angel
game,
Mustangs,
then they'll be
0 Jefferson Kuliwale.
as far as fouls and stuff.
But this one, they really had to claw back into it because SMU had built as much as a 12-point lead in the second half, and Hawaii had to really battle. They had 3 triples in the second half, but the one from Javon McClanahan in the final 5 seconds was the one that mattered the most. I'm going to say that right now. I'll show that in a little bit, but first of all, I like to talk about 2 guys who really came through in the clutch off the bench, with an honorable mention to a third. Morsek and Beon Riley combined for all of UH's 22 bench points. Riley had 13, Morsek had 9, which was a career high for him. And also an honorable mention goes to Cody Williams as well. He didn't score, but he provided 2 quality steals in the first half that kept UH in the hunt. So that's an honorable mention for him. Williams played 12 minutes, whereas Morsek, he played 13, and Beon Riley had 26 minutes played. But what really told the story, as I mentioned before, is that Sek and Riley had 22 points off the bench combined, and they romped SMU's bench where they only had 3 points scored. And when you can beat your opponent's bench by that much, that's significant. And that's a stat that in my view will not go unnoticed. But as I said earlier, it really came down to the final 5 seconds. But first, I'd like to show this dunk that Morsek got in the second half, and that was after McClanahan had missed a free throw. And Morsek is certainly proving that he can play in the paint. And if this Diamond Head Classic was any indication, Morsek is going to be a go-to guy if Bernardo da Silva's in foul trouble. And I should also, and since I mentioned Bernardo da Silva, he led the way in terms of the starters. He had 13 points, And I was glad to see that his free throw shooting was starting to come back in all 3 games of the Diamond Head Classic. Because prior to the DHC, De Silva had some trouble at the free throw line, and there were times where he went 0 for 2. And when you're a guy who can play in the paint, you better make your free throws. And De Silva, he only had 1 free throw attempt, but it was a good one. He was 6 for 10 from the field. He had 13 points in that championship game. And it's a good thing that UH is able to capture this championship game, because you never know if you're going to make it to the championship game again next season. Because it could be 2 years from now, it could be 3 years from now, or it could be 10 years from now. You never know. And the guy, and now I'm finally going to show that last second triple from Siobhan McClanahan right here. And let me tell you, that triple was a hell of a way to say Merry Christmas for sure, especially after McClanahan was denied justice against Texas A&M Commerce just a little under a month ago. Because McClanahan had sank a triple, but it was negated by the refs after a player, Alex Peavy, had ran into the referee, and that referee made a snap call, which negated that triple from McClanahan. But this one, Siobhan was entitled to some justice, and that's what he got. And I'm going to show it once again just because I want to. And let me tell you, I definitely got the radio broadcast. I found the radio broadcast on social media of what happened towards the end. And just because I want to, I'm going to play some of it in, and hopefully you can hear it. Let's put this at full screen. Okay, here you go.
Hawaii's got no timeouts. Inbound comes into McClanahan with 3 seconds. McClanahan with 2. McClanahan with 1, leading for 3. Oh! It's gone! It's gone! And a foul, and it will not matter! Hawaii has won the Diamond Head Classic! McClanahan for the win! Hawaii has won the Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic in a thriller that will be remembered for a long time.
Wow. And I'll tell you what, if the Diamond Head Classic was any indication, prepare yourselves, people, because the University of Hawaii is going to give you one hell of a ride in 2023. And of course, I showed the score earlier in a graphic. I'm very, very proud that the University of Hawaii was able to win this one. They finally checked off the box that had eluded them for 13 years. So once again, all 3 games get an A. And this SMU game was no exception because they deserved it in every sense. And once again, I'm going to show some more of my B-roll before we wrap it up here. And I'll see you all again. So for now, Malamapono, everyone.
From California, number 3, Govan.